Well, the breaking news is about Nirav Modi's and his 4 bank accounts that have now been frozen by the Swiss authorities, and a total of $6 million have now been is in the custody, in fact, of the authorities. Switzerland freezing Nirav and his sister's bank accounts as well. So this is a massive crackdown, really, on Nirav Modi, who still remains behind bars in United Kingdom, and now his bank accounts have been frozen by the Swiss authorities. So big news coming in after his uncle Mehul Choksi citizenship is going to be revoked by Antigua. A big setback once again for the family, and Nirav Modi's bank accounts being frozen. Along with him, his sister's bank accounts have also been frozen as well. Munish Pandey joins us for more on this. Munish, so after Mehul Choksi, now Nirav Modi in for some more trouble with 4 of his bank accounts being frozen by the Swiss authorities. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, Avantika, as far as this scam is concerned, apart from focusing on how to bring back these fugitives, the enforcement directorate is also focusing on how to recover the fraud money which Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi did. And in the same effort now, sometime back, the enforcement directorate got to know about 4 bank accounts of Nirav Modi and his sister, Purvi Modi, in Switzerland. And after issuing the LR, now the 4 accounts in Switzerland have been seized by the enforcement directorate. Now the total amount which has been frozen by enforcement directorate is over $6 million. It's a huge step by the enforcement directorate. Remember, earlier assets of more than 4,000 crore have been seized by the ED, and now the $6 million have been seized in Switzerland. Back to you.
Absolutely, a big setback there for the fugitive diamantier Nirav Modi. What else are you hearing from the enforcement directorate and all this money that has been frozen? Munish, I just want to understand from you, by the Swiss authorities, will the enforcement directorate have access to this all this money that has been in the bank accounts in Switzerland?
Yeah, well, Avantika, as far as the procedure is concerned, now remember, Switzerland is a different country, so there is a process of LR. Now the Indian authorities will inform the courts of Switzerland that this fraud has taken in India and the amount has to be frozen. Once the trial is complete, and if there is a conviction against Nirav Modi and Purvi Modi, this money will automatically come back to India and the fraud money will be recovered.
Okay.
But till the time the trial is going on, conviction has not come, this money won't be used by Nirav Modi or Purvi Modi. It will be frozen in Switzerland.
All right, Munish, thank you so much for joining us. Shifting focus now to the US President Donald Trump, who had a tough message for Prime Minister Narendra Modi ahead of the big meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Japan. US President Donald Trump put out a tweet over the US-India trade turmoil. This tweet that you're seeing on your screens right now asks India to lower its tariff structure on the United States products, with the President of the United States calling it absolutely unacceptable. In a warning of sorts, Trump even mentions the recent increase on tariffs by India on 28 US products. He says that it's unacceptable and must be withdrawn. Both Trump and Modi are going to be meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Japan. India had recently raised tariff on United States products as a retaliation to Trump administration's move to discontinue New Delhi as a preferential trade partner. United States' move has affected Indian exports worth $5.6 billion, making them costly. Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan joins us for more on this. Geeta, you know, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was all praise for Indo-US ties, but there are a growing number of differences between the two countries, especially the tariff hike. Do you think that the latest tweet and the President of the United States calling it unacceptable would have any impact on the friendship, on the bonhomie between both the leaders?
Not sure, Avantika, whether it will have an impact on the relationship per se, but it certainly is going to overshadow the talks that are to take place between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Trump, given that these are concerns that are real for President Trump. But there are real concerns that India also has, and that has to do with the withdrawal of GSP, something that India has already put forth its opinion and its position on when the two foreign ministers, that Secretary of State Pompeo and External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, met. A very pertinent point that Pompeo made in an interview to India Today, Avantika, was that United States of America does not have differences with many countries, and that's because they do not trade with many countries.
Okay.
Showing and highlighting the importance of India, that if there is a trade of such volume, economic connect of such volume, then there are bound to be differences, but both countries will have to work towards ironing out those differences.
Yes, that's true, absolutely. But, you know, there has been a very hard stand that has been taken by the U.S. President. You know, they might not be having this kind of trade relationship with other nations, but you have had Donald Trump you know, calling India rather sarcastically a tariff king and, you know, benefiting from the earlier relationship that they had. Wouldn't all of this impact India's point of view and also the tariff hike?
Well, it certainly will, Avantika. There is no denying the fact that amid all the smiles that we saw yesterday between Pompeo and Jaishankar, there was this underlying tension, the current of which is quite visible today with the tweet that Donald Trump put out. And that will certainly overshadow the talks between the two leadership in Osaka on the sidelines of the G20 summit. But having said that, these are concerns that will have to be ironed out, because this time around, India is going from a position of strength. India is speaking to United States of America from a position of strength, and like Jaishankar said, India's own national interests would be paramount.
All right. Geeta, just stay on with me. In fact, let's just take our viewers through some of those sticking points. Competitive imposition of punitive trade tariff remains on top of the agenda. Purchase of oil from Iran, given the tension between the United States and Iran. U.S. review of the contentious H-1B visa program and the S-400 deal with Russia. In fact, the Prime Minister received a grand welcome in Japan after he arrived in Osaka to attend the two-day G20 summit that begins tomorrow. And in a first bilateral meet of this new government, the Modi government and the Prime Minister met his Japanese counterpart, Shinzo Abe, on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Both leaders, in fact, held extensive talks. They discussed issues of mutual interest. The Japanese Prime Minister congratulating the Indian Prime Minister for his massive win in the Lok Sabha polls, and the Prime Minister also thanking Japan's contribution to India's developmental projects. The Prime Minister is slated to attend a community program later in the day, and he will then be holding an important meeting with the US President Donald Trump. Both the leaders are expected to discuss some of the contentious issue that my colleague Geeta was talking about, which includes sanctions on Iran, the trade tariffs and the S-400 missile deal with Russia.
भारत के लोकतंत्र की ऐतिहासिक घटना हमारे चुनाव और चुनाव पूर्ण होने के तुरंत बाद आप पहले भारत के मित्र थे जिन्होंने तुरंत टेलीफोन करके मुझे बधाई दी और आज फिर से आपने बधाई दी। मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं और विश्व का ध्यान भी भारत के लोकतंत्र, उसकी वाइब्रेंसी, उसकी विशालता, उसके तरफ दिनों दिन आकर्षित हो रहा है। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे प्रसन्नता है कि G20 समिट की मेजबानी करना कितना बड़ा काम होता है, लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी आपने समय निकाला और बातचीत करने का अवसर मिला, इसके लिए मैं आपका हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। जिस गर्मजोशी के साथ आपने, आपकी सरकार ने और जापान ने मेरे डेलीगेशन का स्वागत सत्कार किया, उसके लिए भी मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं।
Geeta Mohan remains with me. Geeta, I was just also tracking what the Foreign Secretary, Mr. Gokhale, had to say about the interaction between the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, and Shinzo Abe. Interesting, both these leaders share a fantastic relationship, great camaraderie. But it was very interesting to hear Mr. Gokhale talking about the measures taken by India on its crackdown on economic defaulters, saying how important it is for G20 nations to take cognizance of the same and also take up anti-corruption procedures as well.
Well, a few points when it comes to similarities between India and Japan, Avantika. As much as both countries celebrate democracy, they have very vibrant systems in place. There is also a problem of rampant corruption in both the countries, and that's the reason why this whole move in fighting corruption, where Japan and India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan, are on the same page. Theirs is a relationship, Avantika, that goes beyond just the Prime Ministership. India, and as Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi has had very long ties and deep ties with Japan.
Yes.
Japan is heavily invested in India, be it economically, infrastructure-wise, or for that matter, looking at culture and people-to-people exchange. There is a lot of investment that Japan has put not just on India, but particularly on this leadership, on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And now is the time to harness that leadership, that relationship, and that's what the two leaders are going to do, and is the reason why they're looking at playing an important role with the concerns that they have addressed at international and multilateral forums such as the G20.
All right, Geeta, thanks so much for joining us. We'll of course keep coming back to you for all the updates on the G20 summit that's taking place in Osaka in Japan over the next 2 days. For now, we leave it at this.
वो तस्वीर हमारा है, वो सारे का सारा है, वो तस्वीर हमारा है, वो सारे का सारा है.
And on the second day of his 2-day visit to Jammu and Kashmir, Home Minister Amit Shah met the family of martyred police officer Arshad Khan, who lost his life in the Anantnag terror attack on 12th June. In fact, the Union Minister paying a visit to the martyred Jammu and Kashmir policeman's family, expressing his condolences as well. The Home Minister later tweeting a picture of his interaction with the family members. Amit Shah also held a review meeting with the Jammu and Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik on the overall security situation in the state and its preparedness for the Amarnath Yatra, which begins on the 1st of July and has also been a cause for worry for the security forces because the pilgrimage route is frequently used by terrorists to carry out terror attacks. The Home Minister also has ordered strict compliance of security protocols and standard operating procedures for the Amarnath Yatra. Shuja Haq joins us for more on this. Shuja, so the Union Home Minister in Jammu and Kashmir as part of his 2-day visit, what else are going to be on his agenda other than reviewing the security arrangements for the Amarnath Yatra?
Well, Avantika, today is the second day of the Home Minister's visit to the valley. Yesterday, when he came, he chaired high-profile meetings, which included a meeting of the security heads of those agencies who are working in the valley. Today, first thing in the morning, he did was visit the family of SHO Arshad Khan. Arshad Khan was among the 6 security personnel who were killed on June 12th when an attack took place in Anantnag. Today now he is also scheduled to meet some of the delegations, which includes his party members and other functionaries here in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Apart from that, there isn't really much in his schedule for today. We are also given to understand that late afternoon he would fly out of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So overall, this visit seems to have been focused around reviewing the security scenario, particularly Finally, the security situation with regards to the Amarnath Yatra, which is scheduled to begin later this week or next week in itself. So all these things seem to be revolving around those points. There were a lot of people who were making speculations about possibilities of some sort of announcements being made with regards to development in terms of possibilities of talks with separatist leaders or certain areas there, but that really hasn't happened yet. We are given to understand that a briefing of the Home Ministry officials is going to happen shortly from now here in Srinagar. So we'll be waiting for that to happen and understand what exactly are the other things that the Home Minister has done during his visit to Kashmir Valley.
Right. Thanks so much for joining us. Meanwhile, Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao has laid the foundation stone for a brand new secretariat and his assembly complex. These two new buildings will cost 500 crore rupees to the Exchequer, with the new secretariat building that's going to be spread over 6 lakh square feet and will also cost a huge amount of money. In fact, the new assembly complex will house the assembly council halls, the central halls, and one also knows of Mr. K. Chandrasekhar Rao having a desire for Vastu and astrology. In fact, he had taken oath at exactly 1:34 in the afternoon on the advice of the seers and priests. The Congress leaders have raised strong objections to K. Chandrasekhar Rao's decision. They have even approached the High Court seeking a stay on the demolition of the present Secretariat building. Ashish Pandey joins us for more on this. Ashish, this is such a shameful waste of public money. Why in the first place was there a need to demolish the present Secretariat building?
The story goes quite long, Avantika, we can say. During his first regime, K. Chandrasekhar Rao, the Chief Minister of Telangana, TRS chief, he never visited this particular secretariat. He came to this secretariat for very few times, occasionally only. Once or twice he been to this secretariat, and later on, the government of Telangana, the then government of Telangana, they decided to have a Vastu advisor, and they appointed one Vastu advisor. And it is said that that particular Vastu advisor of government of Telangana advised Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao that this particular building has Vastu lacking, and it is not fit for him and his political ambition, and even it's his government also. Since then, the Chief Minister wanted to have a new secretariat building. Earlier, he decided to have the secretariat building at a different location. He wanted to shift a chest hospital, for his secretariat building. He faced protests. The idea was dropped. Later on, he approached central government seeking land, defense land for his dream secretariat.
Okay.
But again, a defense ministry rejected his plea. Now, finally, when he took over his for his second term, the Chief Minister decided to demolish this particular structure, the entire secretariat complex, and now he'll build his own dream secretariat.
Right.
Here, cost will be around 400 crore. It might increase further. Apart from secretariat building, assembly and legislative council buildings also will be constructed by the Chief Minister.
All right. Thanks so much, Ashish, for getting us all that information. Shifting focus now to Indore. After attacking a civic official with a cricket bat, BJP MLA Akash Vijayvargiya is behind bars. He has been arrested. Kailash Vijayvargiya's son has been booked and denied bail for the shocking assault on the municipal official. India Today, in fact, has accessed the 2018 order which permits the demolition drive of the dilapidated buildings in Indore. Akash Vijayvargiya went on an assault spree, claiming that the official was wrong to approve the demolition because the residents were left homeless. But the 2018 order confirms that the building were unsafe to live in.
देखिए, ये जो पर्टिकुलर भवन है जिसके बारे में हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, ये सबसे पहले 2018 में लगभग 1 साल पहले ये डेंजरस घोषित किया गया था और इवन नोटिस भी इशू किए गए थे। 2 नोटिस 2018 में इशू हुए थे, लेकिन पिछले 1 साल में इसकी स्थिति और भी ज्यादा खराब हो गई थी। जब 2019 में हम लोगों ने स्ट्रक्चरल रिपोर्ट इसकी करवाई, तब जो हमारा स्ट्रक्चरल इंजीनियर था उन्होंने बोला कि अगर इसको 2-3 दिनों में ही खाली नहीं कराया गया तो ये पूरी तरीके से गिर सकता है। देखिए, कल लगभग हम लोगों ने 2-3 ऐसे कर्मचारी देखे जो घटना स्थल पर मौजूद थे और उन्होंने नगर निगम का सपोर्ट करने के बजाय जो है या तो दूरी बना के रखी या फिर सामने वाली पार्टी को सपोर्ट किया। इसके अलावा जो बाद में प्रदर्शन वगैरह हुए उसमें भी कहीं ना कहीं वो लोग शामिल थे। ऐसे 21 लोगों को हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया और ऐसे 21 लोगों की सेवाएं हमने समाप्त करी।
इसमें कैलाश विजयवर्गीय जी का कोई रोल नहीं है, लेकिन जो लोग उनके नाम का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं ये भी दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। जो वहाँ पे घटना घटी है उस पर कानून अपना काम करेगा और कार्रवाई हुई है। नगर निगम के लोगों ने भी जो वहाँ पर महिलाओं के साथ और बुजुर्गों के साथ अत्याचार किया उसकी भी जांच हो रही है और इस विषय पर कानून अपना काम करेगा।
सरकारी अधिकारी को एक प्रोटेक्शन हासिल है कि सरकारी कामकाज में कोई बाधा नहीं डाल सकता और आप बल प्रयोग करेंगे, आप डंडा उठाएंगे तो कानून काम करेगा। और न्याय की महत्ता के हित में है कि ऐसे व्यक्ति जो जितना शक्तिशाली है उसके खिलाफ उतना ही कठोर होना चाहिए।
ये एक शर्मनाक कार्रवाई है। जिस तरह से एक जनप्रतिनिधि के रूप में कल आकाश विजयवर्गीय का आचरण रहा है वो स्तब्धकारी था। उन्होंने क्रिकेट के बल्ले से कर्मचारियों की पिटाई की। जो हिंसा और भय का वातावरण वहाँ पैदा हुआ उससे बिल्कुल साफ है कि लगाम कहीं ना कहीं लगनी चाहिए। एक राजनीतिक परिवार में रहने के कारण तौर तरीकों को जरूर समझना चाहिए था। मैं इसकी कठोरतम शब्दों में भर्त्सना करता हूँ।
Well, the breaking news is about a Congress protest that is presently going on in the national capital, and the protest in fact is against the outbreak of encephalitis. Youth Congress protesting right in front of the health minister's residence against the outbreak of the epidemic. And these are the visuals there of this agitation, this protest by the Youth Congress workers. They are protesting in front of the health minister's residence, Dr. Harshvardhan, and they are raising a protest on the issue of the encephalitis outbreak in the state of Bihar that led to the death of over 150 children. So live visuals, they're coming in right now of these Congress workers who are staging a protest right outside the health minister's residence in the national capital against the situation in Bihar on the rising number of deaths, in fact, as a result of the encephalitis outbreak. So some very dramatic visuals there of this lady who's right on top of her barricade, and she's arguing with the police personnel who are trying to explain it to her and also requesting her to come down. And they finally succeeded to do the same. They managed to convince her to come down, and she's in fact on top of those security barricades, the police barricades that have been put up. These are the visuals there on the right hand side, the top right hand side window. If you can see those visuals of the youth workers staging a protest against the health minister. So very heated reactions coming in.
डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन है। देखिए आज हम हर्षवर्धन के घर का घेराव करने आए थे। माननीय हमारे मंत्री जी 200 बंदों की हत्याएं करने के बाद आज सुस्त परस्त बैठे हैं। मेरी आवाज को नहीं दबने दिया जाएगा। मैं पूरे दिल्ली से लेके उत्तराखंड तक अपनी आवाज को, बिहार के बच्चों की आवाज को दबने नहीं दूंगी।
US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was in the national capital, and in fact he spoke exclusively to India today, wherein he also talked about Pakistan asking the country to crack down on terror from its soil. And other than that, in fact, the US Secretary of State spoke on a host of other issues. Let's listen in to this exclusive.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, thank you for speaking to India today.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Before you came to India, our two countries were literally throwing punches at each other on the trade front, on purchases of oil from Iran, on arms purchases from Russia and other issues. You met Prime Minister Modi today. You met Foreign Minister Jaishankar, as well as the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. What were the big takeaways from these meetings, and where would you say that India-US relation stands after this?
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure I'd agree with you about the punch throwing. Look, these are serious matters,
Yes.
things that friends and partners have to work through. But when I stare at the opportunity between our two countries, you had a prime minister that got more votes than anybody in the history of the world. And you share a value set, a democratic value set with the United States of America. And your people engage with Americans at every level, all across the world, in the United States, in India, and other places too. What we spent a lot of time talking about today was how we can truly make this a different age, a different time. We can be more ambitious in our relationship. And so these issues, the trade issues, military issues, defense cooperation issues, we make those positives. I'm confident that we can, and I know President Trump is committed to that as well.
And if there's a big takeaway, what would that be?
It'd be that there's a real commitment. I had not met my counterpart before, so it was great to get a chance. I'd spoken to him on the phone. Many Americans know him from his time as the ambassador of the United States, so there's already a deep understanding of his vision for how our two countries can work together. And then when I had a chance to be with the Prime Minister, he's going to see the President here in just a couple days in Osaka. They'll get to build on what we talked about today, but in every interaction I had with Indian leadership, there was a deep, for the sake of our two peoples, but for the region and the world as well, America and India need to be good, solid, reliable partners for each other. We benefit in the United States from India, and we know too that you benefit from a relationship with us.
On the trade front, India feels that the US has been unnecessarily hard on it, and especially by withdrawing the GSP recently. Given the fact that India's trade deficit with the US is around $24 billion compared to China, which is like $400 billion, something like 20 times more. Why did you all decide to come down on India by withdrawing the GSP, and what does India need to do to have it restored?
Yeah, we're going to go work to fix it. We're going to go work to restore these relationships. I'm very confident we can. Look, I know the GSP is a big deal to India. It matters an awful lot. I don't think anyone would be surprised to know that trade and trade deficit matter an awful lot to President Trump. I'm confident that when two countries of goodwill work together, that we can work our way through this. Make no mistake, neither country will get everything they want when that deal is put together, when it's ultimately resolved. Each country will have to give things up, make trade-offs, but that's what friends do. They develop relationships, they work together, and then when we've solved that moment, we'll be better off. I'm reminded constantly that there are countries we don't have trade friction with. We just don't trade with them. We have an enormous economic relationship between our two countries. It is absolutely inevitable that countries that have a relationship as deep, as strong, as economically connected to ours will from time to time find places where they just can't quite figure it out for the moment. We'll figure this one out.
But there seems to be a duality of approach. You talk tough on trade, you're sweet on defense and other issues. Where is this coming from?
No, I think we're tough on everything. I think India is tough on everything too. It's that, look, we each have an obligation to do our best to make sure that our countries are well represented. I am confident that Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Jaishankar, they're going to represent India well. Our trade representatives will represent their countries well. But I hope the Indian people will come to see that we shouldn't focus on the differences, these things that cause challenges. We talk about data localization challenges and all these things that are in the news. These are the small piece of the relationship between our two countries. What I wish reporters would talk about is the enormous connectivity of these two nations and the enormous opportunity that we have. Between us, 1.7 billion people, democratic institutions all around. If we focus on those and just work through the challenges, by the way, when we solve those problems, there'll be another one. You can write it down. It's the nature of friendship and partnership. Look, we'll play each other in cricket, right? It's going to happen, and we'll have different views. We as the American people and the Indian people should understand that that's just the course of a relationship, that you work through them, and when you come out the other side, when you resolve these problems, both peoples are far better off. And when we do that together, this region and the world will be better off too.
I mean, on the positive side, particularly on security and terror, America has backed India strongly, particularly with Pakistan. If you see the recent designation of Masood Azhar as a UN designated terrorist, as well as on the grey list for Pakistan on the FATF. But Islamabad somehow doesn't seem to get it. In your discussions with Mr. Doval today, did you talk about prosecuting these various terrorists that afflict India, whether it's Hafiz Saeed, whether it's Dawood Ibrahim or Masood Azhar?
We did. National Security Advisor and I spoke at great length about terrorism. We both reaffirmed our commitment. No terrorism anywhere is acceptable. We talked about Iran, right, the world's largest state sponsor of terror, and the serious nature, the serious threat that poses to the world. I think this administration has been very clear to Pakistan, our expectation. They can't be supporting terror, whether that's cross-border terror between Afghanistan or Pakistan, or terror that emanates from Pakistan and comes to this country. It's unacceptable. We've changed that relationship. It's different than it was in the previous administration. We've taken this far more seriously because we recognize the threat it poses certainly to the people of India, to the people of Afghanistan. Our opportunity to get a reconciliation there is dependent upon Pakistan not providing sanctuary to terrorists inside of their country. We've been unambiguous with them. We still have a lot of work to do. But I always, as a diplomat, always remain hopeful that Pakistan will choose the right course. I think for the Pakistani people, it's the best outcome. And so I'm excited that we're able to work together with India on counterterrorism, certainly in the region, but we do that more broadly as well. It's a powerful partnership between our two countries, countering terror everywhere we find it.
And did you focus on some of the individuals, the key individuals that I mentioned, Dawood Ibrahim, Hafiz Saeed, Masood Azhar?
You know, we talked about Masood Azhar a bit. It was something we worked very, very hard on to get that across the finish line. We're happy. It was the right outcome. And then we spent time talking about a handful of other individual cases as well.
Including Dawood, I would gather.
I don't want to get into the details. I'll let National Security Advisor Doval talk about it if he wants to. But suffice it to say, we know precisely who these bad actors are. We know precisely the threat that they pose to India and to the world. And the United States will be a very capable, committed partner alongside of India to push back against those threats.
You released the U.S. State Department report on religious freedom recently, which criticized India for the rising communally related violence in the country. India has rejected these allegations. Did this come up during your conversations today with any of the Indian leaders? And what did you have to say about it right now?
Yeah, so I've spoken about religious freedom widely. I gave some remarks just a little bit ago and had a chance to talk about it too. Look, religious freedom is central to democracies. It's every human being should have the right to practice their own religion or not practice religion if that's what they choose to. I know it's at the center of democratic values here in India as well. I'm confident that our two countries will continue to work towards that. America is not perfect either. We don't always get it exactly right. We try to be critical of ourselves when we don't get it exactly right as well. And so we did have a chance to have that conversation today.
And on Iran, I mean, India is deeply concerned because, you know, there's sanctions against India if it bought oil from Iran. India is concerned if there's a conflict that breaks out between U.S. and Iran, we would be deeply affected. Would there be such a conflict if Iran doesn't comply? And what are you doing to meet India's energy needs?
So for India's energy needs, we're working diligently to make sure that India is fully supplied with crude oil at a good price too. Right? We know that matters, not just the fact that you have it, but it needs to be affordable energy. America cares about affordable energy for its citizens as well. You know, as for the challenge with the Islamic Republic of Iran, America's done everything it can to de-escalate. If there is conflict, if there is war, if there's a kinetic activity, it will be because the Iranians made that choice. I hope that they do not. I don't think they should ever mistake President Trump for not being prepared to defend American interests all around the world, and I hope that the world will come to defend that waterway that is so central to the Indian economy. You know it, Prime Minister Modi spoke with me about it today. A significant piece of India's not only energy needs, but even more broadly come through the Strait of Hormuz, transit in that space. The world needs to join together to ensure that there's free and open navigation in that waterway. When we do that in a serious way, we'll deter Iranian aggression and we'll get Iran to behave like we've asked them to. Nothing special. We just want them to behave like a normal country. That's not too much to ask for them.
And my final question to you is, of course, the arms purchases with Russia that India has. Would you permit a waiver under CAATSA because of India's long-standing relationship?
I don't want to get ahead of decisions that we'll make with respect to that. We have expressed our concern about that weapon system and how difficult it sometimes makes it for America to participate alongside folks who are employing that weapon system. It's a very real concern. I know that our Department of Defense and your military will talk about it and work through as many of the technical challenges we can, and how we respond to that is the way that I just described. We'll respond in the way that partners do. We're candid, we're frank, we're upfront about our risks, our concerns, the things we have to do. I know we'll work through that as well.
And when will President Trump come to India?
I hope soon. Prime Minister Modi and he will have a chance to meet together. Prime Minister Modi, I'm sure will invite him here.
All right. Thank you so much, Secretary of State.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Well, the Home Minister Amit Shah is presently in Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, this is part of his two-day visit to the state. And presently, what you're seeing on his screens is that he is going to be meeting with village heads and the sarpanches as well. The Amit Shah Home Minister is meeting members of the panchayats at the Nehru Guest House. And this is a very important meeting as well. He has been meeting a lot of people during his two-day visit to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. He will also be meeting delegations of civil society members, delegation of people connected with tourism, some other youth delegations as well. But presently, Amit Shah, the Home Minister, meeting members of panchayats, and this interaction is also going to be very important before the Home Minister flies back to Delhi. We are expecting the Home Minister Amit Shah to address a media conference in Srinagar as well. It's interesting that Amit Shah has been holding a couple of important meetings. He's been overseeing the security arrangements of the Amarnath Yatra that begins on the 1st July. And along with that, he even has paid his condolences to Arshad Khan, the martyr, who tragically lost his life in the Anantnag attack. So it has been a very, very busy 2 days for the Home Minister Amit Shah. Kamaljeet Sandhu, my colleague, in fact, who's covering the Home Minister's visit to the troubled state of Jammu and Kashmir, joins us right now on the broadcast. Kamaljeet, so we are seeing the Home Minister interacting with members of Panchayat. He has been, holding a slew of meetings with a lot of important people in the state. But tell us what is going to be on top of the agenda on day 2 before the Home Minister flies back to Delhi, and will he be addressing a press conference as well?
Well, the press conference at this point of time is completely being ruled out. What we know is the Home Secretary Rajiv Gauba is likely to address press about in another 1 hour. But yes, the meeting has largely been related to security and developmental issues. Yesterday there was a review of Amarnath Yatra security. Then there was obviously followed by the developmental agenda. Today again he's gone to Arshad Khan's residence. The slain cop was killed in the 12 June Sidain attack. And thereafter we've seen a few of meetings taking place. One is the overall security meet, and now he's meeting different delegations including the sarpanches. Clearly there seems to be more on the mind of Amit Shah, especially in regard with developmental issues and how to take things forward.
Yes.
Remember, he's new, especially at the helm of affairs. The panchayat elections were held in October last year, and clearly he would want to know what sort of agenda, what do they really need from the center, how can they actually put things together so that even in terror-related areas, there can be issues and developmental projects, and he will carry out a review meeting later with them as a matter of follow-up. But clearly, when it comes to security issues, that has been his top priority, counter-terrorism. But as far as dialogue is concerned, remember, as far as the mainstream parties are concerned, or delegations and even meeting with Hurriyat party leaders are concerned, that is not now on the cards. Will there be a follow-up meeting? That needs to be seen.
Okay.
Clearly, there have been overtures which have been sent by the Separatist Party, backed by both the mainstream parties, the MC and the PDP, but we've not heard a word yet from BJP. So clearly, it's not on the cards as of now. But remember, this is just the first such meeting. There will be follow-up meetings, and all eyes will be on Amit Shah and how the priority he takes in the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
All right, Kamalji, thank you so much for joining us. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar exposed Pakistan at the international forum. In fact, the foreign minister said that Pakistan's policy of sponsoring terror prevents it from behaving like a normal neighbor. In fact, the foreign minister, while addressing a leaders' summit, said that Pakistan has been using terror as an instrument against India for years. S. Jaishankar also said that the international community should call out such nations which obstruct world peace. In fact, the minister also added that India hopes for a global consensus to pressurize Pakistan to actually act against terror. He also said that it was difficult for India to work with a country which practices terrorism, denies normal trade and obstructs India's connectivity with South Asia.
I think a lot of the problem today is whether Pakistan is prepared to behave as a normal country and as a normal neighbor. Now, what do I mean by normal? I don't think anywhere in the world today, do you have a country which has an industry of people who are trained and armed and motivated to go and commit acts of terror in a neighboring country. You know, there may be terrorist incidents from time to time. There may be, and UK has experienced some, sadly. But if you look at this kind of, large-scale as I said, industry of terrorism, which is done with the blessing of the state because the state thinks that it is an instrument of pressure on a neighbor. I think that's a pretty unique situation. And today it's an increasingly unacceptable solution. It was always unacceptable to India, but I think more and more countries are coming around to that viewpoint. If you look today at South Asia, goods of one South Asian country crisscross the other. Stuff comes from Nepal, passes through India, from Bangladesh, goes across somewhere else to Nepal or to Bhutan. But Pakistan is resistant to connectivity concerning India. So the challenge that I see is really if a country practices terrorism, denies normal trade, is obstructive on connectivity, how do I actually work with this country? So it's not an easy challenge. If you look today at South Asia, goods of one South Asian country crisscross the other. Stuff comes from Nepal, passes through India, from Bangladesh, goes across somewhere else to Nepal or to Bhutan. But Pakistan is resistant to connectivity concerning India. So the challenge that I see is really if a country practices terrorism, denies normal trade, is obstructive on connectivity, how do I actually work with this country? So it's not an easy challenge.
Welcome back. But before their match against the West Indies, Team India found themselves in the midst of a storm, with political parties, including the Congress and the Samajwadi Party, raising opposition to their new orange jerseys that the players will be sporting during the match that they're going to be playing against England in the World Cup on the 30th of June. Let's take a look at this entire controversy.
Team India going strong in its World Cup campaign. But back home, there is a big row over the team donning the orange jersey for its lone match with the English side as per ICC rules. The Congress and Samajwadi Party are seeing red, calling it saffronization push.
जो भगवा कलर टीम को दिया जा रहा है, मोदी जी इस देश के झंडे का कलर देने वाला कोई और नहीं था, मुसलमान था जिसने इस देश के झंडे का कलर दिया। अगर आपको टीम को कोई कलर देना है तो इस देश के झंडे का कलर देंगे तो मैं समझूंगा ठीक है, लेकिन हर चीज़ को आप भगवा रंग से रंगेंगे तो मुझे लगता है कि ये बिल्कुल नाइंसाफ़ी है।
मोदी सरकार जब से देश में आई है, एक अलग तरह का चलन शुरू हो गया है। सबको भगवा राजनीति करने की जो शुरुआत इस देश में हुई है, इस देश के लिए दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। जो नेशनल फ्लैग का तिरंगा कलर है, सबसे पहले उसका मान सम्मान हर क्षेत्र में होना चाहिए।
Meanwhile, Union Minister Ramdas Athavale supported men in blue going orange.
तो पूरा रंग तो भगवान नहीं है, अभी लेकिन नीले रंग की टीम देखेंगे तो इंडिया की टीम लोग समझते हैं, तो इसलिए नीला और भगवा एक साथ लाने की कोशिश हमारी थी। उसमें मुझे लगता है कि वही बहुत बड़ा ऑब्जेक्शनेबल कोई बात नहीं है।
Earlier, these are the same people who used to say the sports and culture should be kept away from political issues. If the T-shirts are orange or saffron, I think we should be proud of it.
This is not the first time that Team India will shed its trademark blue. During a T20 match in 2012, Indian team sported the orange jersey. The ICC adds that the orange colour comes from Team India's existing jersey. According to ICC rules, all teams in the 2019 World Cup, except host England, need to have provisions for two different coloured kits, so as not to make two sides appear in same colour.
To be very honest, we are not even aware of what colours we are going to be wearing. So we have not given any thought to that, and all our focus is on the match tomorrow.
So has a simple cricketing norm fallen prey to divisive domestic politics? And will it hit team morale? Bureau Report, India Today.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.